He thinks I'm slipping away physically. But what he doesn't see is I've already slipped away emotionally. I wanted to want it, but I didn't. There's this moment, it happens more often than I'd like to admit, where Ethan reaches for me like he used to. Like we used to. But instead of melting into it, I stiffen. Like tonight. I was curled up on the couch with a book, still in my work clothes, when he came home from his night shift. He kissed the top of my head and walked straight to the kitchen, opening and closing cabinets with the loudness of someone who wants to be noticed. I waited for the usual, a comment about how quiet the house felt, maybe a joke about how I always leave a single spoon in the sink. But instead, he walked back, leaned over, and kissed me. Full on the lips. No warning. No lead-up. It wasn't a bad kiss. His lips were warm, familiar. But it felt scripted. Like we were acting out some scene where happy couples kiss after work, and I was just playing my part. Then, without a word, he gave me a playful smack on the butt and said, "Missed this." I laughed, out of habit, but I felt myself pull away as I stood to go upstairs. By the time I reached the bedroom, I could still feel the heat of his hand. Not in a good way. He followed me up and lay beside me in bed. His hand brushed against my thigh under the sheets. I pretended to be asleep. I even slowed my breathing. And lying there, wide awake, I asked myself the same question I always do lately. Why does everything have to turn into sex? Sometimes I want to be held. Sometimes I want to talk. Sometimes I want nothing at all. But what I never want, is to feel obligated. I didn't mean to break, but I was already cracked. It started with pasta. A Tuesday night. Rain against the windows. I made dinner, nothing special, just something simple because I was too tired for much more. Ethan came home late, again. He kissed me on the cheek, thanked me for the food, and sat down, still in his scrubs. I didn't say anything, but the smell of antiseptic on his skin made me wince. We ate mostly in silence, the clinking of forks louder than our conversation. Halfway through his plate, he looked up and said, "You've been distant lately. Is something going on?" I blinked. "Lena?" I swallowed hard. "I don't know," I said quietly. "Maybe." He put his fork down. "Can we not do this cryptic thing tonight? Just tell me." And that was it. That word, cryptic. Like my silence was just another puzzle for him to solve between surgeries and rounds. Like I wasn't already screaming inside, just silently. "I'm not trying to be cryptic," I snapped. "I'm trying to not fall apart over F***king spaghetti." He sat back, stunned. I could feel it happening, my voice rising, my chest tightening, heat crawling up my neck. "Do you even see me anymore, Ethan? Or am I just something to come home to, kiss, and crawl into bed with when you need to feel close?" His brow furrowed. "Where is this coming from? Where isn't it coming from?" I laughed, sharp and bitter. "You touch me all the time, but when's the last time you heard me? I didn't want to have sex last week, Ethan. I just let you. I didn't even realize it until later." He went quiet. Completely still. And I hated myself. I hated the look on his face, like I'd just accused him of something awful. I wasn't. I was trying to be honest. Raw. But it came out all wrong. Loud and jagged. He pushed back his chair and walked out of the room. No yelling. No slamming doors. Just silence. I sat at the table, tears dripping into my half-eaten dinner, wishing I could take the words back, and knowing I never would. Because they were true. It's not that he stopped loving me. It's that I stopped feeling it. The days after that night moved like molasses. Thick. Heavy. Quiet. Ethan didn't bring it up. Not once. He still made the coffee in the morning. Still kissed the top of my head before leaving, but there was something hollow in the way he moved. Like someone going through the motions of a life they no longer recognized. And I did the same. I worked longer hours. Came home later. Ate standing up at the counter. We existed in the same house like roommates who shared a past but not a present. One night, I passed by the doorway to his office and saw him just sitting. His hands in his lap. Staring at the wall. I watched him for a few seconds before slipping away, unnoticed. It should have made me feel powerful, like he finally knew what it felt like to ache. Instead, it made my chest hurt. I missed him. God, I missed him. The way he used to laugh with his whole body, the way he'd pull me onto his lap when I was being stubborn. The way we used to fall asleep tangled together, like even in our dreams we couldn't let go. But now, he slept with his back turned. Always just out of reach. Was I punishing him? Or punishing myself? I kept thinking about that night, about what I said. And what I didn't. How I'd poured years of quiet resentment into a single outburst, then expected him to catch all the pieces and still hold me like before. I couldn't tell if the distance between us was something I created, or something that had been there for a long time, waiting for one of us to finally name it. Last night, I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, watching him sleep. He looked peaceful. Tired. Older, somehow. I wondered if I looked the same. I sat down on the edge of the bed, inches from him, and whispered the question that had been sitting in my throat for weeks. Is there even anything left to save? And I didn't know whether I wanted him to wake up, or stay asleep. Sometimes, love lingers long after it stops being enough. We didn't talk about the meltdown. Not directly. But a few mornings later, I walked into the kitchen and found Ethan sitting at the table, holding his mug like it was anchoring him to the earth. He looked up. I expected the usual, "Morning, are you okay?" Instead, he said, "Do you still love me, Lena?" I froze. The question was simple. But not soft. It wasn't meant to guilt me. Just, reveal something. His voice was calm, but his eyes were tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of hoping. I sat down across from him. I didn't answer right away. I don't know, I finally whispered. I think I love the version of us I remember. But this? This doesn't feel like us. He nodded. Slowly. As if he'd already known. I never wanted to make you feel obligated, he said, eyes locked on mine. I thought I was showing you love. But I realize now I wasn't asking you what you needed. I was just doing what I thought worked before. Tears welled up. But I didn't let them fall. I stopped telling you what I needed because I didn't think you were listening anymore. We sat in silence after that. No outburst. No blame. Just honesty. Later that evening, he came to bed and laid beside me. Not touching, not reaching, just there. I turned toward him, not sure what I was going to say. But he spoke first. I booked a hotel for the weekend. Just for me. I think we need space to figure out what we're really holding on to. Something in me shattered. But also, something in me softened. Before he left the next morning, he kissed my forehead. Not my lips. Just the lightest press of his mouth to my skin. I still love you, he said. But I don't want to be part of a love that hurts you. The door closed behind him, and I stood in the hallway, hugging myself. It wasn't an ending. Not yet. But it wasn't a beginning either. It was a pause. A breath. A necessary, aching silence between two people who didn't know if reaching for each other again would heal them, or finally break them. I wanted to say no, but I didn't know how. Now I do. If you've ever stayed too long in a feeling that didn't fit anymore, you'll understand this. My name is Lena. I'm 39. And for the first time in years, I'm learning how to want something that isn't just survival. For so long, I let my body carry the weight of our relationship, let it respond even when my heart was silent, let it say yes when all I wanted was to say no. Not because I was afraid of Ethan, but because I was afraid of what it meant if I stopped going along. I thought sex meant connection. I thought affection meant we were still okay. But here's what I've learned: when your body and your heart start to speak two different languages, one of them will always feel like betrayal. And it's usually your own. I don't blame him. I need to say that out loud. Ethan is a good man. But being good doesn't mean he knew how to love me the way I needed to be loved. And maybe I didn't know how to tell him. Or maybe I did, and gave up when I stopped believing he could hear me. He's still at the hotel. It's been 4 days. We've texted, nothing heavy, just logistics, bills, did you feed the cat kind of things. But there's space in the silence now. A softness I didn't expect. And strangely, I feel closer to him now than I have in months. Not because we're fixing it, but because for once, we're not pretending. Maybe we'll find our way back. Maybe we won't. But either way, I found something I didn't expect: my own voice. The one I buried under routine, under guilt, under years of nodding instead of speaking. Now, I'm letting that voice guide me. And it's telling me something simple, something hard, something brave. You don't have to say yes just to keep the peace. I wanted to say no. And next time, I will. Not because I don't love someone, but because I've finally remembered how to love myself.